Hello, Mel.
Hello. How are you?
I'm very well. Pretty excited. We've got another in-studio guest coming in.
It's nice having people in here, isn't it?
I prefer it over the Skype stuff just because there's certain things you just can't ever get when there's a computer in the way.
That is true, and I'm not adapted to technology too good. And terrible English. Terrible
I don't
English.
speak too good.
I don't speak too good to a computer technology.
Someone who does, though, who speaks very well.
This guy that I've produced yet again.
Yeah, you're on a roll here.
I know. Somebody stop me, in the words of The Mask, Jim Carrey. Stop me, please. I'm just swirling like a tornado now. The guy that's coming in today, Boy Graduate. What a cool name.
That was the first thing I thought when you sent it to me because I honestly didn't have much context around the guy other than I'd heard a little bit about a groundswell locally around him that he had an audience that reached beyond this area.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing I really thought was that is a great name. How do you get that name?
It's so true because all I can aspire to is beauty school dropout. There's nowhere near getting a graduate on the end of I'm not going to be Mel graduate ever.
Well, that's bad, but business school graduate that now works in retail is probably almost as bad.
Go back to high school.
Yeah, I probably need to start over again.
Well, let's get him in because I know a little bit about him, but I think the people of our listenership might get around. He throws a bit of shade, I think. I think he's got some opinions that might rub people up the wrong way or the right way, open up some eyes.
That's good. My mind tends to get opened by coffees. So I'm looking forward to Boy Graduate opening it that little bit further. But to get it started, I need a coffee. So
I'd like a coffee. I've started to drinking iced coffees. Is that how I say it right?
That is.
Yeah, there you go.
And just for the people at home so they know, I'm going to post a picture of Mel holding her iced coffee and her lip gloss in a very strange configuration.
Not strange at all. That's how I hold stuff all the time.
Right, okay. So you can support us, listen to us, and click on something and press play, all at punchingsideways.com. We do appreciate people that share the show and buy us coffees because it helps pay for this room that we're in.
Yeah.
And these microphones that Mel keeps changing through, so...
I know nothing about any of the expenses. I'm just here to...
You're just the talent.
I'm just the talent.
Righto, so can we jump in with some real talent?
Yeah.
Boy Graduate.
Someone's graduated in it. Welcome to Punching Sideways. I'm super excited about today because I've done some producing. I actually did my job for a change.
Yeah, just part of your job description, Producer Mel.
So it's all about me, but actually it's not because we've got Cameron on, or Cam, who I know as Boy Graduate. How you going, buddy?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm very good.
I just met Josh today, so nice to meet you too, dude.
It's been a pretty exciting 5 minutes getting to meet someone that apparently has more nicknames than even Dan Caulfield, a previous guest.
Well, let's get straight into that because you do so many different things which I want to delve down. So for anyone at home who has just tuned in, what would you call yourself? Like, your Boy Graduate, but what would you call yourself? Like,
as like a title?
Yeah, like what do you do?
Maybe first and foremost an artist.
Yeah.
And then the second one would probably be entrepreneur.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
then the third one, window maker, because that's my job at the moment.
I like how he's got his priorities in order there. You're an artist who moonlights as a window maker.
Yeah, but windows are sadly becoming more of a priority.
It's the time we've all had a tough time.
I mean, I'm someone who talks into a microphone and moonlights as someone who sells toasters. So we all do what we have to.
Yeah, exactly.
So just the nicknames. Can we just go through just the few that you just gave us? I say nicknames. I don't mean that to be pejorative. You've obviously got a stage name, a shortened version of a stage name that Mel came up with.
No, there is way more.
Yeah.
So to get to Boy Graduate, how did you get there? How did your whole, because I know you first and foremost, you're very entrepreneur, but as a rapper.
Yeah.
So how did you get into rapping, and how did you get this cool name that you've got?
I wasn't always Boy Graduate.
Ah.
I had like 7 different handles before I landed on Boy Graduate. Before Boy Graduate, I was June Buggy.
June Buggy.
Okay, sorry, I've just got to derail us early. Cam, you look like you're about 25, maybe. You might be older than that, but I was thinking, how could you have 7 handles? You look like you're 2 years old. That's a compliment. We'll post a photo.
Hey, yeah, please do.
Can we list them all? Or you just want to leave them in the past?
Remember. It's like C. Cleasy was the very first stage name I had.
Yeah.
And then I think I changed it to Kello Blake, and then Junior, and then from that June Buggy came. And at one stage for like a month I called myself Handsome because I was just like, I discovered going to the gym and I lost a lot of weight and I thought I was handsome.
That's a good enough reason.
And then, yeah, it was June Buggy. And then that's when I was living in Melbourne. So I think I was freestyling in a cypher and I was wearing my RMIT hoodie. I'm a graduate of Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology. And I was just wearing my jumper. And a cypher is, for those who don't know, a circle of rappers that just jump in and rap off the cuff. And introduced myself as the boy graduated, or like the boy graduate, because I was just about to graduate university. And my name was still June Buggy at the time, and people were like, oh, like, is that your name, like Boy Graduate? And I was like, no, it's not. They're like, well, that's a really dope name though. And I was like, yeah, it is, isn't it? And then from that night onwards, because I just signed on with a manager, shout out Fitzy, and I was like, I think I want to change my name to like start brand new.
Yeah.
Because that was my thing. I didn't have any traction yet.
Yeah.
So I still could. But all my friends, of course, were like, oh, you're changing your rap name again. Like, what are you doing? Like,
or if it's coming straight from someone in the audience, so that's kind of like getting the feedback in advance.
Yeah. And no one ever used to ask me, they'd just be confused why my name was June Buggy. But like, ever since I've changed my name to Boy Graduate, it's been like,
it's like a statement.
It's a cool name.
Do you feel like it was like you had to go through like all the shitty girlfriends to get the
good
right
name.
one at the end?
Yeah.
Like,
That's a perfect analogy.
That is honestly it. Yeah. Some people are too scared to do that though.
True.
To change it. They think that's going to ruin them.
They're just stuck with that first, as you said, shitty girlfriend.
Yeah.
They just roll with it.
Just go back into that abusive relationship where she gives you no love. No. And
I think that was the one though. I got married to the name. And also, a side note was that Boy Graduate on every social media platform wasn't taken.
Yes.
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. No one, there's no other people called Boy Graduate, which is weird.
That's so important though.
It is, particularly in modern music. I mean, to just not be able to get the name the same across a platform can just be so confusing for people.
So many people I know, even on Spotify, they just have the same name and they release a song and it gets placed under another artist.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, now I have to email like the distributor. I've like never had that problem. Everyone I talk to has that problem.
Until now.
I've seen this happen in multiple different things in my life where people get attached to a name.
Yeah.
Before doing clearly what you did was you heard that, you thought, oh, that might be cool. But then you obviously went and did the research to see, should I invest in this name?
Yeah.
It's as simple as just typing into Google, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then going to Spotify, Pandora, whatever's available and typing it in there.
Yeah, exactly. And then I just went on to like change username on all the platforms and it was like, this name's available. So I just made the leap.
So you filtered in this little like shout out about you've got a manager.
He's not my manager anymore.
But he was your manager.
He was at the time.
Can we just talk about the reason I got you on here is, one, you're a super interesting dude, but you've got ties to the Philippines.
Yeah.
So you're entrepreneuring the shit out of everywhere.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about your music and your links and what you've done to get over there? Like
from the very start?
Yeah,
like how it,
how did it start?
I guess I met Fitzy at a gig and he was a rapper at a time. And then we were talking like on and off for a while. I just knew he had, like, he's a hustler, and I just never met anyone like that before. He was so like hustler, like he was really all over the shop when you think about it. Like you'd be driving with him down the street and he'd see a couch and he'd pull over, get the couch, put it on top of his car and like put it on Gumtree and like try hustle it, like sell it, like flip it, and like his ideas and stuff. I was really attracted is not the right word, but like
intrigued.
Like it was like a magnet. I like just wanted to keep hanging out with him. And then he decided to become more of a manager, and he found a bunch of guys who were rappers and good. And he started a management company, a record label, and a publicity company, which is where the Philippines comes into play, because I was working with him with the publicity, pitching artists to like radio stations like Triple J, all that kind of stuff. Also doing stuff overseas. And we were branching into digital marketing, which is a huge industry now.
Massive.
Yeah.
But when you got into it, it wouldn't have been as prolific, would it?
No, like I feel like now all the old people and stuff are like, oh, now it's really important, especially with COVID.
Yeah.
Like, oh, now we need a website.
Yeah.
Now we need to have our socials looking good. Now we need to have a brand online. And 2 years ago, it was still like a luxury to do that. It's like, oh, we can't afford that. Let's just focus on, flyers and, tangible marketing like radio ads and stuff like that. But now it's like completely changed, which is great. And he found a partner in the Philippines, like a business partner, just by chance, at a co-working space. And these guys were running an Airbnb business for luxury villas in Bali, Philippines, Hong Kong, and in apartments in London and stuff like that. And they were looking at opening their own, finding a digital marketer for their properties, and also starting their own digital marketing firm. So they thought Sean could be the one to sort of head that project. So we went to the Philippines for like a month, got to know these guys, stayed in this awesome villa, and after a month we decided to work together.
And is that how you got your music, like, and started infiltrating over there as well with your music?
Yeah, I'd already started. My music career was already well established at that point.
Yeah.
So I might have skipped a few steps.
No, you're right.
No, we can go right back in a minute anyway.
Yeah.
This is intriguing.
So. Yeah. And then I lived there for 10 months. And unfortunately, that partnership came to an end.
Yeah.
That's when COVID and stuff started happening. And then it was like, I could stay in the Philippines and keep it going, or like I could move back to Australia.
Yeah.
And figure out what I want to do. But I'd already made connections with so many people in the Philippines myself.
Yeah.
Besides from hanging out with Fitz. I was going to, because I was living in Cebu, which is an hour flight from Manila, which is the capital. I had met the A&R, and for those who don't know what an A&R is, they discover artists and they kind of build them up until they're ready to sign them. So they invest in like a pool of artists, and then depending on how those artists go, they always pick the ones that are starting to do well.
Yeah.
He was a new A&R for Warner Music in the Philippines.
Yeah.
His name's Alex, and I have a business venture with him now. But I was flying to Manila with him. He was getting me shows, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, well, I've already got that. I've built this relationship with this guy. We've discussed business ideas. Like when we're together, I could go home and just like form that with him online.
Yeah.
And I said, look, if I moved back home, would that kind of ruin what we've been talking about? And he said, no, not at all. We could do it online. I don't see why not. But that was like way before COVID had fully hit. So I was planning to go back June. I was like, I'll be back in June anyway. And he said, great, we'll do like shows and we'll keep building your name over here, because he wanted to help me with my music. And it just turned out that COVID happened, I couldn't go home.
We all got stuff.
Can I ask something, Cam?
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll go back hopefully in a minute and talk about how you got to the point where your music is good enough to be on, the radars of people that are like the gentleman you're speaking about, that are in artist and repertoire and that sort of stuff. Is there something unique about that market that musically that made the music you were creating at the time so appealing there, or was it a market you already knew had an affinity for that style, or were you caught off guard by, well, it's not seen, I guess, as a prominent music country when you think about as a global music centre, but obviously whatever you're doing is really hitting people there. Exactly.
Alex is like on the forefront of bringing a global sound to the Philippines, especially in the genre of hip-hop and R&B. Everything over there is so behind, like 10 years. So the music, which is what they call OPM, original Filipino music, that's like your karaoke style, what everyone would think Filipino music is and is. But there are gems. I moved over there and there's just so much happening in terms of, because of the internet now, people can get really influenced by American rappers and all that kind of stuff. So my sound was already modern because I come from a first world country. And I think that's what Alex saw in me. And he's like, that music doesn't do well here, but I think it will, because you've got Korea who have found their own sound and they've built that up, and now that's a global sound. Mm-hmm. In a similar sense, that's sort of both our goals for the Philippines, because Filipinos are super talented. They can sing, they can dance, they can do everything, but they're just behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've not been exposed to as much.
And it's a known fact that major artists in America, they get developed by an A&R and they get tested in the Asian regions.
Yeah.
And if they do really well, like Love, who's LAUV, who's a huge star in America, before he got big in America, they tested him in Asia. So he was popping in Asia. He was doing huge shows around it. No one knew who he was in America. But then the label said, that works, put it in America, like apply that to America. So that's sort of the channel that major artists go through because of the numbers. Yeah.
A testing ground.
Yeah, it's cool. A testing ground.
Cool, like a research facility. We'll call the Philippines as like a research facility for going off on that, there's a different perspective for someone who's Filipino or half Filipino like me. The Filipino people, they don't connect with it as much because they are Filipino. They want something that they can't have. Yeah.
So when it's a full white foreigner, for me, it's actually an advantage to be half Filipino.
Yeah.
Because then they're like, oh, he's half Filipino. I want to be like, I'm white over there. People call me white.
Yeah, okay.
So you're like, he's white. I want to be him. But like with a full foreigner, it's more engaging for them to see that and connect with that. So that's what we've been trying to figure out for the last year. Trying to figure out what kind of sound would fit there, because the sound I'm making here in Australia, it doesn't work there.
Sorry, Cam, how would you describe that? Well, for people that are listening that maybe they're still listening to us and they haven't gone to check you out yet. Yeah. What is the sound that you are creating at the moment, and do you see yourself changing that if the Philippines becomes even more of a focus?
At the start, very much so. I wanted to change my sound to fit the Philippines, and what I was creating, just one wasn't hitting the mark. I'd send Alex demos. He'd be like, "Nah, that wouldn't work. That wouldn't work." And now I'm just going back to what I've been making, and the Philippines can catch up when they want. It's too much stress. But what the music I make is popular now.
It's very good.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Yeah. No, it is.
Yeah.
I've been listening to it all week since Mel said you were coming on.
Yeah. Awesome. And it's just trap, hip hop, sort of R&B, a blend of all those, which is a wildly popular genre now in the world.
So can I ask maybe what might be seen as a bit of a meta sort of question? When you were thinking about, I've got to do maybe this and this to my sound to move into this other market, what was it sound-wise or in the music that the Filipino market, what were they wanting that you were trying to give them? Like, was there something in your head you're like, I've got to change this particular thing?
Yeah. Well, one of the things was learning Tagalog, which is the Filipino language.
Okay. Well, that's
awesome. Pretty difficult.
Which I've been doing. I actually just got out of a lesson after I messaged you before I met.
And did you have any exposure to the language pre-living there?
No. And, my mum.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew how to say hello and goodbye and I'm hungry and I'm full. Yeah. That's it.
Stuff you learn as a little kid.
Yeah. And I wasn't in a because dad is white, it's a half Filipino house. So mum had to adapt to become more westernized. And where I lived in Cebu, they didn't speak Tagalog, they spoke Bisaya, a completely different dialect. So I couldn't learn Tagalog in Cebu because no one spoke it.
And that was a regional language there,
Yeah.
as opposed to the national
Which
language.
is Tagalog, yeah.
So this is all super intriguing. I love the crazy details, and I think I think we both do.
Yeah.
So you're trying to envisage, is it a mix of English and
Taglish is what it's called. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so you were thinking about having a blend of, something that's a universal element plus the local language in one,
So
within one song, or?
Yeah. So the Filipino people can hear it and be like, oh, he's actually speaking Tagalog there. Like, he's actually embracing his culture. That's dope. Because no one's done that. There's no proven case. That's what I'm trying to talk about with these Filipino artists here in Australia. Like, man, we got to tap into the like, there's millions of people. If you get 10% of 130 million people, like, that's more than Australia. Like,
that's half the population. Well, it's most of the East Coast.
And then our culture in Australia is, if you see someone doing well, there's the tall poppy syndrome culture, which is like, if someone becomes really big, they start hating on you. But when someone sees you climb, they want to jump on board as well. So if they see that, then your Australian following is going to enjoy seeing you do that as well. But there's no proof, there's no case study yet. No one's done it yet.
It's funny you bring that up, mate, and you might be too young to remember when these bands that I'm about to mention got big, but Australia loves nothing more, particularly the Triple J kind of layer of radio and entertainment. They love nothing more than a success story from overseas that brings something back home to the market. The Vines, Wolf Mother, Airborne, all these huge rock and roll bands, they were all, for whatever reason, got huge in the UK first, and then they were a story when they came back.
Yeah.
So that could only work to your advantage, that these young artists that maybe are based in Australia have this huge following in the Philippines.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. That's the same concept.
The smart guy, Joshy.
Yeah,
Isn't he?
He is. He's very clever.
He's very, very smart. It's super interesting to listen to how you're just working stuff out.
Yeah, thanks.
Hustling
And
yourself.
just when you're saying business ventures,
Yeah.
is that within the music field, or are these just through conversations and they're actually, separate from the music relationship you have with these people?
With Alex, it's publicity. So it's pitching, it's finding Filipino foreigners, and usually with Alex's contacts, he's so connected. Like, this guy's like, I don't even know he knows everyone.
He's got a big black book as opposed to a little black book.
And clearly a really refined taste for the market, because if you're sending him demos as an artist, I mean, I'm not really writing much music at the moment. I've just started again. But when I used to, if I sent a demo to someone for feedback and their instant reaction was no, that can be a little crushing.
Yeah, of course.
But you obviously trust his taste.
Yeah.
That, okay, well, he really knows this market, I trust.
Well, this guy, he's birthed some of the biggest Filipino bands who are massive in America. Like, we went to Manila and he was like, oh, have you heard of this group called December Avenue? And I was like, no, I haven't. And he's like, oh, they're like the biggest band here. And I was like, right. And I looked their Spotify up and just millions of plays. Like, I'm going to go check up on them and see them. Like, they're rehearsing right now for their tour in America. And we went there and we chilled with them. I got a photo. And my cousins in Manila, because my mum's family lives in Manila still, they were like, you met December Avenue? It's like, yeah. Like, Alex Alex found them. Alex is the one that finds the artist and blows them up. So that was really exciting for me that he was even interested in me. But then he brought to me a bigger vision that I really like. It's finding Filipino foreigners and making them big in the Philippines. So that's what the business is. Talking to Filipino foreigners, trying to explain to them, like, look, there's something going on here. The Filipinos are starting to appreciate our kind of music more, and all we need to do is sort of tinker or like just try nudge at it. That's been a really exciting project. Even the money the money is not even that important. It's more so just like there's a vision that we have, and I think Alex just needed someone like me who's well educated in publicity and who knows how to write an email and network and who's a foreigner. Because when I'm talking to the American R&B singer, and I'm telling them I went over to the Philippines and I did shows and I got this many fans and I got a following over there, then they, okay, like it's starting to make sense now. If it's Alex doing it, it's a Filipino talking to a foreigner, and it's kind of like, it just doesn't connect as much.
Yeah, so you're kind of the proof.
Yeah,
of the model a tiny bit. I've been there. It was a great experience for me. Yeah,
I can sell it more because we're all from Western countries.
And you've got that relatability.
Yeah.
People need like a little in rapport.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're still living in this world where people will judge either appearances or background and everything like that. So you to say that you're willing to go over there and do that it means a lot. Like you're trading first world for a completely different world.
You've hit the nail on the head, Mel. Obviously, is there certain values that people have, maybe Australia and America and the UK and Canada are similar in lifestyle expectations and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
When you're having a conversation with someone from, say, the US, what sort of things are they, what sort of stuff are they asking you as someone who's been there about the Philippines? Is there any particular questions that they ask that stand out that you think, oh, well, that's pretty similar to what an Australian person would ask?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know. It's difficult because the people we're talking to, they come from Filipino cultures.
Yeah.
So they already know what the Philippines is like, and they've been to the Philippines to visit their families, but they've never thought of pushing their music in the Philippines because they have
that's a value in and of itself. That they may be, to be honest, I knew the population of the Philippines just from happening to know that, but I had no idea that there was a market there of music that could sustain artists that were global, like you're talking about.
Because if you ask, that's the question, not so much the question they ask us, the question we ask them is, do you know, like what's the first thing you think of when you think about Filipino music? And they always say karaoke, artista, mas, which is all words that mean like just old music,
like a traditional style.
Traditional style music. And artistas are sort of like Disney actors who are bred as kid actors and then they become big, and because they've got such a big following they can just become a music, but they sing. There's a certain sound, OPM. Okay. It's hard to explain. Karaoke, like if you can think just karaoke, it's hard though.
That's the perception.
Yeah, it's a perception. Like it's just really easy to sing along to. Yeah. But it's in a different language.
Yeah. Right. To me, when I hear karaoke, I just think it's second rate. Like you're singing along, you're not the actual.
They love it though.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. So for you to then be pushing that boundary, and you don't want you want audience participation in some format, but you actually don't want the audience to be the ones that are taking the mic and taking control of the situation.
Yeah, you're promoting the origination of the music as something that could also be successful there. It's not just having music or styles that people just sing along to, like Mel was saying, where it's all about the audience and there isn't really the artistry part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like those conversations when you're appealing to people that whether they're expat Filipinos living overseas or whether they've never actually, located back there.
Yeah.
How open are these people to you saying that your music may need to change in this way? Like you had that conversation with yourself. Are you also having that conversation with these people? Yeah. Or are you not at that point yet as in the venture?
Sure.
And how do they react to that kind of stuff? Like you'll have to make it more Filipino-centric, I guess.
Yeah, they're open. Because I think what we do first is that's not the first thing we talk about. We jump on a call with them and just get to know them first so they can kind of see what we're going for, and it kind of just falls into place. But it's like, would you be open to, say, a few Tagalog lines in a verse? The answer's always, well, if it's going to get me more traction and if it's embracing my culture, then yes.
But yeah, it's also they may not in their day-to-day life get to embrace language the way that they may get to through their music.
Yeah. Well, it's like my family, like my mum and dad and me, we're very westernized. But for instance, my girlfriend, she's Filipino and she moved here when she was 7. So that's her first language. And if you go to her place, which is up the road from my place here in Wodonga, like it's just Filipino.
Yeah.
They just talk Tagalog. But she speaks back in English, but her parents talk to her in Tagalog. So most of the artists we're talking to come from that sort of household where they're Filipino, they're in a Filipino house. And as a kid, you get bullied and stuff because you're from a different culture, like because you're Asian. And that sort of suppresses that.
Want to express your culture.
Like you like, okay, well, I'm getting teased for being different because of this. Like, okay, I'm just going to stick to being Australian then.
Yeah.
And that was definitely my viewpoint. But now it's cool to embrace your culture, no matter what culture you are. That wasn't cool 5 years ago, but now it's cool.
So woke, Cam.
I'm very woke.
Yeah.
Ahead of your time.
It's true. It may be true, but you've also been wanting to use the word woke, I think. But,
that was the...
I just learned it.
You saw a moment and you took it.
Yeah, I'm so woke now. I know what woke is.
Yeah, exactly. Mel mentioned earlier that you're doing all these things, and we've talked a lot so far about your connection to the Philippines and maybe the music stuff. Can we just talk a little bit more about the style of music and how you actually create it?
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming when Mel said you do lots of stuff, you're not just vocalising the music and the lyricist, but you're also producing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so can you tell us about how maybe the formation of a song comes to be for you?
Sure. The number one thing that people say to me is like your hooks or your choruses are like really catchy. And I think as much as I want to be like a rapper who can rap verse for verse and be like real, like my forte is writing catchy melodies. So similar to writing melodies, singing melodies, or like vocalizing melodies. That's sort of where I excel in producing as well. Not so much drums. I can write drums, I can do drums, I can produce a beat, but it's the melodies where I think my strong point is. So I usually build melodies first, put a basic drum loop over it that I might think would fit, and then I'll usually find a producer to, finish it.
Yeah, righto.
So you've worked with other artists from around here, haven't you?
From around here?
Yeah. From around everywhere. But I know like Clue, you've worked with him.
Yeah.
Who are the other ones that you've worked with from like this area putting together? Like there's always like a featuring boy graduate.
Yeah.
Which is something that genre does so much better than other genres.
Yeah.
It's acknowledgement, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Even producers are being featured now. Like that's a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Like Flem, who's like my best mate, he's a rapper.
Yeah.
There's a few other little like guys around here I've been helping out. The local scene here is blossoming, but there's like growing pains in regional towns for hip hop. Like there always seems to be a bubble and then the bubble dies. Same with even in Brisbane, like the bubbles build and then it goes down.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
Okay, what's it feel like to be part of it then? Because it sounds like you have been. Like, what did that feel like as the bubble was expanding and now maybe you're at a point where it's contracted?
No, more so for like in terms of Brisbane, I just saw it. I wasn't in it because I was living in Melbourne.
Okay.
Melbourne is more established in terms of being creative. There's more of a scene there. But for here, I'm not really attached to the scene here either. I'm more outlier as well.
Yeah.
So when I invite rappers from here to come over to my place to record and they do that, like, we have common ground because we're from the same town, but it's different because they'll be talking about different rappers from around here and there'll be like egos, I guess, as well. So like I'm not a part of that. I'm not caught up in that. It's like, oh, that's not me. Like I don't like I'm not invested so much into this scene.
Well, I guess when they come around, I'm assuming from what you said there, Cam, that your idea is that these are talent these guys are talent and that they happen to be from where I am, but where in your mind the music is for to be sent outward, not to be an insular thing locally.
Yeah, and I feel like there's so much ego, like, and it's in every artist. Like, I've got an ego, I can get real ego. Like, if something doesn't go well with a song, like I get like real. It's just what an artist does. It's what part of being a creative.
Yeah,
but they almost destroy it before they don't even let it out because they're too egotistical. Like,
wow.
Yeah,
there's a potential very deep rabbit hole there.
Yeah. But that's what happened in Brisbane. The egos were too big, and then before the music could even get out of the city, you need to be together. You need to band together and work towards one. That's why, going back to the Philippines thing, that's why it's so important to get as many Filipino foreigners on board.
Yeah.
And not against each other. It's like, no, we need to be pushing for one narrative, one goal. We can't let each other fight over just nothing because of our egos.
Do you think you've got like a slight advantage? Well, where there's plenty of people for all of us, guys.
Yeah.
We're over there. The Philippines is like flooded. Do you think sometimes when people like in a small town aren't, they don't necessarily think big first?
No, yeah, of course.
So it's almost like, oh, I want these people. We've only got 40,000 people.
Yeah.
I can't be sharing it. So, like, this is just all coming to my brain right now, but how can we make sure, I suppose, I wonder what it is that we can make it okay for people to think, you know, it's okay to share your toy, which is a person. And all those, like, we can all,
a
like,
fan base,
even in such a small environment, there's still plenty. Like, no one's going to listen to the one artist all the time.
Yeah,
it's better if they're listening to 5 artists at the same time.
Well, you've given voice to something that a lot of people have felt around here for a long time, particularly in creative fields.
Yeah,
that I haven't heard articulated quite the way that you've put it, and maybe as honestly.
Oh, thanks.
I think particularly the metal scene used to be a case of there was several good bands and they were similar enough that they could have all propelled each other into Melbourne and Sydney quite easily as a package deal. But just things like a couple of them booked gigs against each other accidentally on the same night and they split their audience, and from that point on they split their relationship.
Yeah.
And it's
the same thing.
It's just that danger of the size of this area.
Yeah.
But getting back to Mel's question, do you have any... You've obviously thought about it a lot, Cam, or somewhat.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas what sort of conversations people need to be having with each other to avoid fallings out and not supporting each other?
Yeah, I don't know. When an artist from around here comes to me with that sort of stuff, like, oh, you know, this person shared this person's music but not mine, like, is that...
Jeez.
Yeah, like, that's
like
the level...
shit, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's what, like, rappers, they all become rappers at, like, 16, 17. So it's just life experience. All I can really do is sort of shine light on what I did and how I became to be me, because I've worked with like multi-platinum producers and all that kind of stuff that they know about. Like the producers I've worked with have produced like some of the biggest hits that they love, like from the Hilltop Hoods and Bliss and SO and stuff. So I think I've got like a merit, or like when I talk, it's like I better listen to this guy.
Yeah.
I don't think there's not many people. Maybe Clue's worked with a few dudes as well, but like I feel like, yeah, it's just they listen to me a bit more. But still, I'm gonna say my piece, and if they don't take it, then okay, don't take it. I'm not gonna get so involved with it where I need to be spending energy on that, because I just know that it's probably gonna just. It's like a trend. A bubble builds up, goes down. Bubble builds up, go down.
A much better way to handle the issue, you know, more generally than what I did back in the day. Yeah. I've found just over time that I was spending so much time dwelling on the fact of why are these people so competitive when they could be helping each other.
Yeah.
And then I'd end up just burning myself out, worrying about it. Clearly you've got a more
smarter than you, Josh.
Yeah, well, clearly, or just more mature perspective on it, that you can offer the help and you can offer the advice from a place of knowledge.
Yeah, it's
but
fair
if
enough.
It's not taken, then it's not taken.
Yeah, it's fair enough for you to do that though, because like you get so passionate like for sure there's times where I've had to stop myself and be like, I just can't. Like, it's like someone who's a drug abuser or something, and you're trying to help them, but they're not helping themselves. It's like, I just got to...
Literally what I was about to say. You can't help someone unless they actually want help.
They want to help themselves. So I just do my bit, like, around here while I'm here now. And I probably will be around here for a while, but, like, yeah, my focus for sure is Melbourne, Philippines. That's where I'm going to be doing most of my stuff.
Yeah, and you haven't been... in any way, I wouldn't look at you and go, you're being limited by being from this area at all, because you've found outlets and you've found avenues and ways, like you said, like through Zoom or like Skype or connecting and doing stuff remotely, just because you're not with the people necessarily that you want to work with.
Yeah.
Like physically doesn't mean that it's not achievable at all. Like I know that Clue... He's got Jerkstore and he's got someone in Sydney and someone in Melbourne. And they're
Joey
like
and
this.
Connor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys had Christmas with
I went around there last weekend.
But, yeah, so it doesn't limit you from being remote at all.
No.
You've just got to work, yeah?
No, it doesn't. And the more you can... The reason I can go to Melbourne, and I actually just talked to my friend Hamley, who's a producer, and he just recently produced Stan Walker's latest single, Bigger. Apparently it's huge in New Zealand. Apparently it went gold. He's like a really top producer, and I just got him on board to be my executive producer for my next project.
Nice. So
I'm going to be going to Melbourne a lot next year to work on the demos I've built over this year to finalise everything, because they're all probably at 70%, and I'm not a producer. I just make the beats. So I just need someone to take it from 70 to 100. But like... The reason I can go to the Philippines for a year, live here for another year, and still have that tight relationship with him is because I worked on that relationship.
Yeah.
Like, I nurtured it. That's a friendship I have.
Yeah.
And so that's what I try explaining to people. Like, you just need a network. And don't always go for the kill. Don't meet someone and say, hey, can you sign me?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't do that to Alex.
Yeah.
I just got to know him.
Yeah.
And he was pitching foreign Filipinos for free and getting them on TV and in front of so much reach. Yeah. And it's like, oh, how much are you charging these guys? Oh, nothing. It's like, bro, you got to be charging these people. These people are from Western worlds. They have money. And this is your network that you've built over 20 years. I don't know anyone that's got the contacts that you do in the Philippines. And so that's the entrepreneurial stuff coming in that artists don't really have.
And I think something just from looking into you over the last few days and the scene or the style of music that you're in, that genre seems to have done an incredible job at staying connected and busy during this period, whereas a lot of anything from rock and roll to jazz and all these different things that I follow online have basically just thought, well, if I can't play a show,
that's it.
That's it until we can play shows again. What's the point of staying connected and marketing and networking because there's no end game, so to speak?
Yeah.
Do you think it's because the genre as a whole is a little bit more digital first?
Yeah.
Or do you think it's more you're aligned with digital quicker than some of the more traditional music styles that you think about?
Yeah. Well, the element of hip-hop, like entrepreneurship is almost an element of hip-hop, I reckon. Like if you look at people like Jay-Z, like almost every rapper in America was a drug dealer first, which is an entrepreneurial activity. So they learn how to make money. They learn how to turn something into nothing. And like you mentioned, I think with jazz and rock and stuff, it's more so about the music and the technicalities of the music, whereas rapping and hip-hop, it's like a culture. And I think entrepreneurship is ingrained in that culture. So that's something that really appealed to me, like hearing Jay-Z when I was younger and knowing that Jay-Z had a champagne company and knowing that he owned the Brooklyn Nets and just being like, wow, this guy's not even making money off music. He's like one of the biggest artists in the world, but he's making his money from business. And it's like, wow, you can do that. But I also grew up liking Richard Branson and all those kind of entrepreneurs as well. So
from what my perception is, any of the hip-hop, like rapper sort of around here at the moment, you actually, that are doing well, what in my perception of doing well is you're very comfortable with knowing and being okay with other people adding extras to your stuff. Like you're like, okay, you do a lot, right? But from a production point of view, you've all got your own roles. Okay, this is what I'm really good at, so I'm going to do this. And to get a better product, I need someone that's better at me than than what I am at that last little 30% of producing.
Yeah, I wasn't always like that.
No, but what I'm saying, that's an evolutionary thing, right?
Yeah.
And what I'm noticing is the much more business focused of your group are much more okay with going, this is a business. Like even though, we love music and everything like this, this is a business. So to get the best product at the end, we need to be okay with letting someone else do a little part of it, or knowing that you'd need a good solid team to work on it.
You just made an incredible point, Mel, and it makes me think that, do you think the fact that you guys as a genre and as a local group and a larger genre are so comfortable doing what Mel's talking about, it's only made the art better though?
Yeah, exactly.
Like being honest about the fact it's a business seems to have allowed the genre to make better art.
Yeah.
Because you're not
trying to hide something.
Well, you're not trying to do it all yourself.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well done, by the way.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's a hard point to get to.
Oh, I mean, I'm hopeless with that and always have been.
Yeah.
But that was my goal at the very start, like, I needed to be doing everything myself. But it's just you don't have the time. And as you get older, like you said, I look 2 years older. You almost guessed my age. I'm 28.
Yeah.
So it's just like I'm getting older now.
Yeah.
And I'm building relationships in Asia with like radio stations and publications and industry people where I still love making music and I still hope to build my music more. But like I'm sort of looking more so at, who can I help? Like I've got this network now. Who can I help to utilize that network? I think that's why I'm more open to being more businessy as well. Like there's too much on my plate right now. If I can write, I can get my thoughts, I can get my feelings out on the microphone, I can produce a semi-good beat over it, and then to have someone like Hamley finalize it, and I just know because we've known each other for like 6 years. He knows my story, he knows who I am, he can write my songs better than me, I feel. So if he's going to say, I don't think you should say this, I think you should write it, and then he'll write my melody. It's even to the point where I'm like, yeah, that's dope, I'll do it. But like 2 years ago, if someone tried writing my melodies in a studio, I'd be like, nah, like I'm the one that writes the melodies. But like, it's just, I don't know, it's a thing that you got to grow into, like you mentioned.
I think that also comes down to you said before about how much you invest in your relationships.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of work that goes into that, and that getting that trust point with someone is also, part of that process,
sure.
Right?
Because we've gone through life together, downs and like I've been at the very bottom, he's been at the very bottom, and we've always been there for each other. It's a stronger thing than music. It's like a brothership, so it's like it just makes sense to call him and be like, bro, just finish my project. Like, what's it going to cost? Because I'll just pay it.
Yeah. And that's another good point to say. You're not actually just calling in a favour from a friend. You're still putting a value on what he has to offer by saying, I'm going to pay you for this.
Yeah.
But I just trust that you can do a better job. Do you think it's for me, I sort of operate I know I can't do everything the best, but I still like to know how to do it, so I have an appreciation of what it takes, so that you're not just going, oh, that's your job, you just do it. Do you think that, because I know that you are across all these things, this is what I was saying to Josh, you're impressive, you can do all this stuff. Do you think that helps too with when you are offloading work, you're like, I really appreciate this because
I know how hard it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't do it that good, but I know you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like learning how to make music videos. Like I know how to make a music video. I know how to direct something and I know how hard it is. But it's like, it just makes it so much easier. Same with mixing. Same with mixing and producing. It's like you just know what's going on. You can look at the screen, you can see what the producer's doing, and you get, no, I don't want that frequency in there. I can hear it. No, I want it out. Like, you can become you're a producer.
Yeah.
Like, overall.
Mm-hmm.
So the better you're able to communicate that, the better your product's going to be. So, like, it is kind of good to learn little bits and pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But be a master of one, I think. Yeah.
Good advice. I like it. So I just want to get on to how progressive you are, because you were TikToking before TikTok knew it was a TikTok.
Yeah.
He's got on. Was that a boredom? Like, all these things that you do, because you pop up little videos and stuff all the time. You are very much promoting yourself constantly. Maybe a little bit less at the moment.
Yeah.
But is it all strategy, or is it because you're trying to, have a bit of fun, or is it also just, I need to learn this new skill because this is now a thing that's a thing?
An element, all of those elements in one.
Yeah, okay.
I think I just like figuring stuff out. So, and it's just intriguing to hear that. I first heard of TikTok maybe like October last year or something. I was like, what is this? And I was like, oh, this is going to be big. And just knowing that it was a Chinese-owned company, and like it was the only app that could cross between China and like the rest of the world, and just knowing that it came from Songli or whatever they bought it off, like I was like, oh, this is going to be big. There's already people doing this, like, but no, and we still don't know what it is. I have a podcast, and we were on an episode last night, and the artist that we were interviewing, she said it's like a mini YouTube. It's not only for dancing anymore. It's like you can learn how to cook on there. You can learn how to dance. You can learn how to do everything on there. So it's like, that's a good point. I've never thought of it like that before. It's like a condensed YouTube.
Because it did start out as a Musical.ly.
Yeah, Musical.ly.
That was the same company. Is that, or that was the app that they built it on? Was that?
Yeah, they bought it. Whoever owns it now bought it. I can't remember the company. They bought it from Musical.ly.
So there's a ingrained, I guess, to begin with, it was very music-centric, as you said.
Yeah.
Are you doing music stuff? I guess that's where I'm going. Like you said you had a guest on your podcast where they talked about all these other things that TikTok can be.
Yeah. Firstly, what is your podcast for anyone that is listening?
It's called Behind This Beat, and it's with Alex from the Philippines. And it's just interviewing Filipino artists and Filipino foreigners every Friday.
So with the TikTok, what are you doing on there? Because I haven't actually, I don't have TikTok myself, so I've never looked at it. But Mel's saying that you're obviously doing something good on there.
I think I've got like 4 TikToks up there. I think I deleted some of them, but I was doing like ones that I just find funny. They're like challenges. So there's like a dancing challenge I did on there. I'm doing the Tootsie Slide by Drake. That's like a TikTok dance, and I love Drake's like my favorite artist ever. So like whatever he does, I'll just do. And I think there's one where I'm like imitating a Aussie accent, like it's a voiceover of an Aussie accent, trying to teach someone how to talk like an Australian.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Yeah, it's funny because you like mimic it because it's the voice. Like it's hard. It's like a music video. You don't. People always ask with music videos, how do you get the song in sync with your singing? It's like you sing the song when the recording's on, like when the camera's in front of you, you sing the song. It's not that hard.
Yeah,
but it's the same with TikTok. You've got to talk when the voice is talking. Yeah, and you got to make it in sync, and it's just like challenging. And to make it funny and like not lame, that's like a whole different thing. I know there's so many people that I know that are trying to be like a TikTok influencer, and it's just cringe, and it's just like, oh, that's bad. Like,
and I think I like that your purpose behind it was just to learn it.
Yeah,
like it's like this is a new thing. People are going to get around it, and again, that input. I need to know how this works so that I can understand the application of it, I suppose, when other people are sort of jumping on board.
Especially with being an artist, you have to have your finger on the pulse.
Like I did the same thing with Snapchat.
Yeah.
I installed it because I wanted to know what it was when everyone was talking about Snapchat in 2012, 2013 sort of time frame. And I think since then I've installed it 3 or 4 times and I've worked out that I don't like it one bit. So I just delete it. But I learned enough about it that I knew what it was.
Yeah.
In case it became something that, at the time, that's when I first started the podcast and I was still playing in a band. And I realised it probably couldn't help me as a person because I didn't like it all that much. But it is important. It is important to know if there's something there.
That's what I feel with TikTok. I haven't posted a TikTok in months.
I've heard that TikTok, you mentioned that something's a bit cringe. I've heard that TikTok, even though it's, there's a kind of an entertainment element to it and a lot of the stuff's kind of funny, there's also a community of people that kind of seem to, early on were really filtering what was terrible.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty vicious place to be if what you're doing is terrible.
Yeah.
From what I've heard. If it's not funny or it's not entertaining or...
Yeah, it can get dark.
It can get dark.
Yeah, it can get really dark. It all depends on the algorithms and what you watch. So if you're constantly watching cooking videos, you're going to get targeted for those kind of videos. But if you're constantly watching dark stuff, you're going to fall in, you don't have to fall into that rabbit hole. They're going to give you that content.
Right, okay. Well, that sounds a lot like YouTube.
Yeah.
So did you manage to get the handle, is it at something? At Hampson? Did you get at Hampson on there?
I got at Boy Graduate.
Oh, you got at Boy Graduate. I was just thinking you would have a pretty big following if you got at Hampson.
Yeah. No, I've retired the handle Handsome.
Yeah, yes.
But yeah, no.
If you've got any of those, they're probably worth selling to someone.
Well, that was another thing. It's that could be worth money, but it's just how many things can you juggle?
I love it. I love that you have all these things to juggle.
Yeah.
But you also make an active decision not to necessarily chuck them all up in the air at once.
Yeah.
You're just like, I might just play with this toy for a bit. So what's new and what's happening at the moment for Boy Graduate?
I'm writing a lot of from the start, my songs have always touched on themes of heartbreak or not doing well with relationships. But I'm actually, for the first time in my life, in a really good relationship. So I'm writing a lot of stuff about that.
Some nice stuff.
Hamley was like, oh, bro, I kind of like it when you're heartbroken. I don't know about this type of, but yeah, that's sort of the direction I guess I'm going. And last year was such an experience living in the Philippines, just finding a way to tell my story in a way where it's relatable. So a lot of work has gone into that. What do I want to say to the people that are still listening to me? Because when I moved to the Philippines, I felt like my fan base here decreased.
Okay.
I felt like people lost interest because he's in the Philippines now.
He's left us.
Yeah, left us sort of thing. He's not doing shows in Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney. I was still actively really trying to build my following off the back of the few wins I got. So I did a tour with Bliss and Esso around Australia, and then I also released a track with a guy from Chance the Rapper's crew called Brian Fresco, and that really did well. That was getting Triple J play. So trying to capitalize off those two things and trying to build the fan base I already had. But I think I got too in my head about that, and I was trying to chase that another hit, and which is really easy to fall into. But moving to the Philippines kind of forced me to focus on other stuff. Maybe I can, the Philippines thing. There's a market over here.
Yeah.
But
it's smart.
A really big one.
It's a big one. Maybe I should try and become a bit taglish. I don't know.
I think so. You might need to learn how to use sunscreen first.
Yeah. So people over here want to get tanned. Over there's whitening cream in supermarkets that you can buy.
Yeah, I found when I went to Thailand, I found that pretty, I guess for the lack of a better term, it was a bit confronting to begin with because, you'd see people and they would be just rubbing white pigment into their skin essentially.
It's right off. It's just wow, just goes to show how society
what can shape you, right? Yeah. What's the beauty expectation or anything? Handsome is a word that is used across the globe though.
Yeah.
You could have kept that.
That one could have played anywhere.
I'm glad you didn't keep that because I really like Boy Graduate. It's a good one. So any sort of timeline on when any of this will be done, or is it just let's hope that you stay in love and we keep getting this
if
type
the last half of the record's really dark,
Yeah, you'll know
something happened.
To be funny, your last one that I listened to was like a transgression of his love life.
2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that was like it went from.
Sorry, is this an EP or a song?
Is an EP.
Single.
Oh,
Yeah.
the EP. The EP that we speed dated.
Power EP. Yeah.
Was like this transgression of he was sort of happy and then he just went.
Yeah, that was it.
And then it sucked and I was like, yay.
Yeah.
Because before, at the start of that EP,
It's pretty sucky.
it was like, oh my God, I cannot deal with this sort of
So
love.
happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's so in love.
I hate people's happiness. Even though I'm happy, I don't like seeing people happy. Either, so.
Well, we can all agree on that. Righto, mate. So I guess if you don't have any timelines, I'm not sure whether you did, we'll keep everything updated
Yeah.
that's associated with this episode. If you're listening to this in the future, you'll be able to click the show notes and get through to Boy Graduate's music. And was there anything else, Mel, that you had?
No, he's just got so much. So I'm just going to let him rattle off his platforms because he's on many.
Yeah.
Go for it. You're on YouTube. You're on.
Yeah, it's literally like we discussed earlier. It's Boy Graduate on everything: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram. Did I say Instagram?
Yep.
You did now.
You did
Yeah.
now.
Can I ask just quickly, what's your favourite? If people are going to find you in one place, what's your favourite? Where do you like to be most?
Instagram is like my most used, but I'm rarely on there either. Like I check it once every day. That's like a habit I'm trying to form.
Yeah. Not get caught into it.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. I just want to go on a diversion of this.
Good.
From someone, it's a very hard headspace to be in, right? Where you actively need to be on it for people to like you and know what you're up to and everything like that. Yeah. Is it almost like you're not giving others the same courtesy by being on Instagram to check their stuff?
Yeah, you kind of have to like power through it all in like the 30 minutes you've got. Like
And
just
just
try
like,
like oh, that person's doing that. Cool. Like yeah, it's again, you have to keep your finger on the pulse you have to give love to receive love. So I see where you're coming from. Yeah, it's hard.
It's just hard. Life's hard.
Yeah.
Unless you're in love and you've got music to write and you're all.
Yeah.
And it's 70% done. And
yeah.
And the beat, behind the beat?
Behind this beat.
Behind this beat?
Yeah.
Where can you get that on all streaming platforms?
Yeah, on everything where the podcasts go.
And it also gets filmed, doesn't it?
Yeah, so the podcast is a version of the live recording that we do, which is on Facebook.
Awesome.
It's just Beat This PH.
Cool.
And the website is www.beatthisph.com.
Awesome.
Righto, all that will be linked up.
Yep. You remember
Do
that?
you like coffees?
Yeah.
Well, we couldn't shout you one today because we didn't have any.
That's all right.
Sorry, mate.
No stress.
We weren't really on our game there. We should have.
Josh would like anyone at home to please shout us a coffee.
Because then we can just transfer it on.
Yeah, we can give.
I've got
give
my
our,
Deep Spring here. I just had one of those bacon and egg pies.
Okay, if you want to buy us a Deep Spring, go to supportpunchingsideways.com and you can listen to the show there, share the show, and also buy us a coffee. Just press the button. And who knows, we might buy people Deep Spring.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor. Righto. Cam, Boy Graduate, thanks so much, mate. It's been a pretty amazing interview, really. I've been loving it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, producer Mel, for bringing in amazing people again. I should just let you book all the guests.
No, not at all.
Righto. Okay, thanks, bud.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you. Thanks, Mel.
So what did you think of that?
What did I think of that hiccup? I will be honest. I let out a very weird noise earlier, and I'm not sure where it came from.
From your mouth. Let's just clarify.
It came from within me, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure why, or where it came from, or why it did that.
I feel like I'm starting to just extrapolate more and more little intricate parts of you, like your underground music thing that's going on. And Boy Graduate, he's not gone underground, he's gone way above ground.
Correct, the complete opposite.
Over the sea.
Yeah.
Into the Philippines. That's pretty impressive.
I don't think I've been as impressed with anyone I haven't met before and known anything about that I've interviewed on this show.
Really?
Yeah, so you really are knocking it out of the park with the producing there because he was pretty amazing.
I was in awe of where his brain has gone and seen opportunities overseas, and he's not afraid to grasp them.
No, the thing that I liked, I guess, and it might sound a little self-serving, but he was like an embodiment of part of why we're trying to do the show, that you don't necessarily need to remain bound by the local region. You can have really big goals, and his were well beyond what I would have expected, to be honest, when he walked in here. He's looking at things at a whole different level, which is probably what I was most blown away by, is just the scale that he's thinking of when it comes to people and reach, but also that he's not letting the fact that he's here again limit his thinking in the slightest.
Well, I think one of the things you said to me when I first started, and I think when you also interviewed the guy from Tech AU, was that was Cartwright?
Jason, yeah.
Jason Cartwright, was that just because you're here in a small town of Albury-Wodonga doesn't mean you can't be producing outstanding quality of work. You shouldn't be, your thought process shouldn't be of, oh, that's a regional thing. Oh, that's pretty good. It should be, wow, that's an amazing thing. And it's from a regional area.
Yeah.
So I think maybe there's a few more people like that around that we've just got to find. We've got to dig them all out.
That's the other thing. You did a bit of digging there and a bit of investigating, and that wasn't just someone that fell into our lap necessarily, I wouldn't have thought. Not like someone that I've known for 10 years or you happen to already have a relationship with. That's someone that...
There's a little bit of digging, but I will say my eyes are wide open now. I know that sounds very strange to say.
More so than when you're awake normally.
Well, I think before I've referenced this, like running around just la-di-da-di-da, and I talk to everyone all the time, and that's just my natural tendency. But now when I'm talking to people, I'm taking a lot more in than I would have necessarily before, because I know how much opportunity is in front of me in this area. So I suppose, yeah, I've got toothpicks in my eyes at the moment to keep my eyes open so I don't miss out on people like this that present themselves in front of me.
Well, I'm stoked that you found him, and I'm also stoked that you found out a little bit more about your great-grandfather, that you mentioned in the episode with Rodney. And for people that maybe didn't get that far through that episode or haven't heard that part, can you just remind everyone what he achieved and maybe what you found out since?
So Rodney, that we had on the previous episode, was saying about how significant it is to be able to bestow a memorial on someone that's won the Victoria Cross. And it just tweaked my brain. I was like, oh, my great-grandfather Burnham Fraser won a memorial cross, like it was he's gone down the street and collected the paper for the first time.
I think from memory, Rodney described it as the highest honour, or in his mind, the highest honour an Australian citizen can receive.
Yeah. So shame on me for not really acknowledging that, but I didn't know him that way. I knew him as a cool sort of guy. But I remember saying to you, I think he has some building named after him, like a shed.
Yeah, a shed. You described it as a shed. Yeah, and you were basically saying that it probably wasn't even going to be a great shed.
Turns out that my great-grandfather created the civil service, which is now known as the SES.
When you told me that the other day, I'm like,
it's sort of
you couldn't have undervalued the guy more.
Yeah, he's got some shed named after him.
Yeah, he won some medal and there's a shed.
So yeah.
Can we just re-highlight that? It was called the Civil Service when he founded it, and now it's the SES.
It's evolved into the SES, which is all over Australia.
Correct, and it's one of the most crucial pieces of infrastructure and also, I guess, volunteer support probably in the whole country.
Yeah. And I wonder, and it's those sort of things too, right, that make me think, because I'm such a volunteer with everything, and I never pieced this together until probably just sitting here right now, that it's just in my core DNA, I suppose, to get out and do stuff like that.
Yeah, you do. For people that don't know Mel personally, that you do seem to derive a lot of energy from giving yourself 100% to a cause, more so than a lot of people that I've met.
Yes.
And you're saying essentially that maybe that's part of your makeup a little bit more than you realised.
Maybe.
Now that you've been digging into your great-grandfather.
Yeah, so I appreciate, well, again, Punching Sideways has given me an opportunity to delve into another area that I wouldn't have necessarily before, and I will be doing a little bit more exploration into that.
But it goes back literally and proves what you said a few minutes ago, that if you dig a little bit into things, like there was someone in your own family that you've now found out all this amazing stuff about, like there's got to be more people around here that we just haven't. Yeah, we haven't uncovered that rock yet, so to speak.
If you know some people that are under rocks.
Yeah, particularly if you happen to be from a little bit out of town. Yeah. Like a Wagga or a Beechworth or a Wangaratta, or if there's a rock liver. Yeah. If you've got an awesome rock star, so to speak.
Yeah. Just shoot us a message, or, get in contact with one of us, get on the page and get into our DMs in a polite way, please. And tell us who you know is living under a rock, because we want to know these stories.
And I'm happy we've somehow changed the complete meaning of living under a rock. We've achieved for today.
Yeah. I'm around it. Let's get on to it.
Nice. And
can I lift some rocks up, please? Geologist rocks? Yeah, or any rocks.
I'll leave us with this, Mel. There was one small piece of regret that I had from today's interview. If Boy Graduate had have kept the handle handsome, he could literally have funded our whole Buy Me a Coffee for the rest of time, because people would have been clicking on that forever.
Well, maybe we should call ourselves something else. We can't now. We've got the artwork, and
we can't call it Punching Handsome, because that won't work.
Punching above our weight.
Yeah, I think so.
Punching, maybe. Yeah. Just buy us a coffee, please, so I can think clearly about my next move and how I can foster up enough energy to go out and lift some more rocks and find some interesting people for you guys to listen to.
Okay, that was a good pitch. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And, my voice is going away. Bye-bye.
Laters.
This episode was edited by Dead Set Podcasting. If you want your podcast to sound this good, check out deadsetpodcasting.com/services. Get the sound you're chasing.